Don Taylor Walker is going to play tomorrow?
Yeah, he's come through fine. He was really close last week. And as I said, after the game last week, we just took probably the conservative view. He had a little bit of awareness, so he's trained fully this week. No awareness at all, and he's ready to go.
So no tests or anything that he'll need to pass? He's good?
He's virtually done nearly 2 weeks of full training, so no, he's ready to go.
Where's Mitch McGovern? Is he going to play as well?
Yeah, Mitch is fine. Mitch had a few bumps and bruises from the weekend, but he's responded really well, and he's trained yesterday and today, so he should be good to go.
Did he get through the entire session? Sorry, did he get through the entire session?
Yeah, he's done everything he needs to do.
Jake Lever is an emergency. Does that mean he's good to play, or how close is he to being in the full strength 22?
Yeah, well, Jake's played the one game in 5 weeks. He had a trial game last week, and the side performed really well last week. And Jake's right on the edge of being selected, and with no question at all from the match committee's viewpoint about Jake's capacity and ability to play at the level. I probably think just in terms of his build, another game won't do him any harm. So he'll play tonight for our sample team, and give himself every chance for coming weeks.
Is that a luxury, being able to keep him in the sample based on how good the defence was against GWS?
Well, it's a little bit of that. A little bit of what I spoke about last week was, our guys who played last week in our back line had really good pre-seasons and had played well through JLT. So, they performed well, which I expect them to do based on the pre-season they'd had. So, they get another opportunity again tomorrow.
Hawthorn have swung the axe, 4 in, 4 out. Do you see that as I don't know, they might be a bit hungrier now that guys are on notice a little bit?
Oh, look, I'm not going to comment on Hawthorn's selections. Obviously, they've made some changes. They'll have reasons behind why they've made those changes. And we'll expect Hawthorn. I mean, they did a lot right last week, Hawthorn. And they didn't get the result they wanted. So we expect they'll be keen to rebound. But we're keen to build on what we did last week as well.
Are they a harder team to scout given the 4 changes, but also given the changes they've had in the off-season with Mitchell and Lewis and those sort of players leaving the club?
Yeah, they've got a slightly different dynamic with bringing in Mitchell and O'Meara come into that lineup and that midfield in particular. So that's probably taken a little bit of time to bed down possibly, but we're not doing anything other than, as we do every week, is prepare for an opposition that we have a lot of respect for, and clearly got a great winning tradition, and I'm sure they'll be keen to bounce back this week.
Does that present a psychological hurdle for either you guys or any of their other opposition, their dominance? And I think it's been 6 years since you've beaten them, Don, so is there a psychological component to that?
I wouldn't have thought so. I mean, from our viewpoint, we take each game, they're individual events. The results of the previous games will have no bearing on what happens tomorrow afternoon. Our players come in a really good, positive frame of mind based on what they're able to do last week against GWS. But we also understand it's one game, it's 4 points, and this week we play for another 4, and we have to create that same effort that we had last week to ensure that we give ourselves best chance tomorrow.
Just back on Lever, does that mean he won't travel at all down to Melbourne? He'll stay here and get that extra match?
He'll stay here and play tonight.
Is he your best 22?
Oh, look, we think he's certainly a young player we've got great hopes for, and we expect he's going to be a great player for our footy club for a long time. And he's an important player for us, and as I said, it's more about getting him the game time he needs to make sure that when he's ready to go and play, he can play at the level that we know he's capable of.
And Eddie's all right?
Yeah, Eddie just said a bit crook on yesterday, so he trained this morning, had a run around. He should be fine.
Just with Tex coming back in, how much more potent can the attack be? I think it was 22 goals, 15 on the weekend against a good GWS side. You bring Tex in, who's a great player, but how much better can the attack get?
Well, we're looking to always improve, and the guys down that end of the ground, they get the benefit of some of the ball movement and other things that happen. So, it's really important that our backs and our mids continue to generate enough ball and win our share. And they have the job, the forwards, of providing those options for the midfielders and the defenders when they bring the ball down. So, as potent as they are, they understand and recognise that the work that's done up the ground that presents the opportunities.
One of the knocks on, I guess, Hawthorn, especially last week, was how slow they sort of looked. Is that something you guys can really exploit, given the likes of your quick midfielders?
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with the comment you made. I think it's always a hard one I think Clarkson said after the game, he felt that they didn't control the ball for long periods, and he referenced the uncontested mark. So clearly they saw the game as they weren't able to basically control the ball. And generally, if you don't have the ball, you're chasing. Teams tend to look a bit slower, so I don't think it's a speed issue at all with Hawthorn. So again, we'll prepare and expect Hawthorn at their best tomorrow.
Is that why Knight stayed in? I mean, you would have thought
last man in, first man out sort of thing. So walking, you lose Menzel. So Knight gives you that run. Is that? I mean, that just shows how delicate the balancing act between forward potency and run is.
Yeah, look, it's always going to be a juggle at match committee in terms of what we're looking for. And Troy's unlucky this week. I mean, he didn't do a lot wrong last week and played really well. And I think it's proved to himself and to the club that he's more than capable of playing the way we want to play and at the level. So that was a real positive for Troy. Unfortunately, he misses out this week and Riley gets another opportunity. So it's always a balance we look at in terms of what we're looking for from the team and how we think gives us the best matchups to play each game.
Is it hard to find that balance given how many good key forwards you do have?
Yeah, it's a bit of a work in progress. You know, as I said at the start of the year, we're trying to build that flexibility around our side, and you know, Riley brings something different to Troy, but that doesn't mean that's the way we go every week. It's constantly an assessment of the group we've got and who's best to play, and an assessment of the opposition as well.
Is Troy travelling across tonight as the emergency, or is he going to play in Sanford tonight?
No, Troy will travel with us, so he'll be our emergency. Yeah, it's probably 5 days break wasn't going to be enough to get him up for tonight, so he'll travel, and if anything happens, then you know, he may come in the side.
Don, one of your players on radio this morning said, look, I met the big in Hawthorn, and there'll be quite a few of us in the same boat. Do you bring that up? Do you?
No, it's the reality is tomorrow's game will be impacted zero by what's happened in the past. From our players' viewpoint, we understand what we believe is going to be the way we want to play our game. We understand how Hawthorn want to play, and our efforts tomorrow will dictate whether we win or lose. I wouldn't have thought the psychology of whether we've beaten them before or in recent times is going to have any impact at all.
So it's not a motivator at all. Based, some guys are often quite hungry. Based, they hold a grudge against teams that have wronged them in the past, so you don't use that as a motivator at all. If
internally and individually guys want to use it, they will, but it's not something I'll be referencing.
What about the MCG? Good to get on there early and get a win?
Yeah, look, it's fantastic. We fortunately played there 3 times last year, and we played obviously Hawthorn, Melbourne and Carlton, so it's great to be at the MCG. It's the home of footy and always great opportunity for our team and any team to play at the MCG. Looking forward to it.
Would you like to see a night grand final this year, Don, or are you happy that it stays at 2:30 this year?
I'm happy it's 2:30. It'd be a nice problem to have, wouldn't it?
Just on first up game, obviously it was so impressive. But what was where you wanted to see improvement after that GWS game?
Oh, look, we're really pleased with how we played last week. Again, it's one of those ones, round one, you're never really certain because you do all your pre-season work and you play JLT, and it's until they throw it down for real, you don't really get a feel. So there's a lot of positives out of last week. There's a few things we keep tweaking away at, but we walked away going, okay, if that's what we're capable of producing, and we can produce that regularly, we'll be in a lot of games of footy.